Hello and welcome to this episode of Peak Life. Today we're talking Deep Creek Area Plan. And here to tell us all about it is Anna Nagorniak from the Planning Department. Anna, thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So this is one of many plans that the Planning Department is currently working on, specific to the Deep Creek area, of course, as the name suggests. Give me a quick overview of what this specific plan is all about.
Yeah, certainly. So this is one of our area plans, like you mentioned. Specifically, it's looking at the Deep Creek and Camelot planning areas. Our area plans are actually intended to be components of our city adopted comprehensive plan. But really, they're an opportunity for us to dig into specific areas of the city. You know, we have so many different ones across the city of Chesapeake alone, and each one is unique in its characteristics. So looking into a plan, you know, specifically for a more specific area really gives us an opportunity to analyze and get a better understanding of, you know, those conditions, those needs, challenges, opportunities for a specific community. So in this case, we're looking at Deep Creek and Camelot.
Okay, and I do love, as you look at the other area plans that you guys have put out, how different they are because they really truly are unique to that area. And I think a lot of that is thanks to the community involvement that you get from the people who actually live there. Community involvement is really important in this process.
Absolutely. The planning department has certainly, the project team, you know, we've done extensive community engagement, I would say, from the very beginning of this process, back when it started in like summer of 2024 through today. We've held, I believe, almost 10 different events, meetings, as well as some pop-ups at other, you know, pre-existing community gatherings, events. We've had 2 community surveys. We also had stakeholder committees that worked with us, and we held about 12 of those stakeholder-specific meetings to get input from key, you know, business owners, leaders in the community. So yeah, it's been quite extensive, and we've gotten such a, you know, large bank of input, I would say, from community residents through this process.
That's great. That's such an important part of this. So a draft plan is available. When somebody picks up this plan, what can they expect to find? Are they going to be able to read it, understand it? What will they find in there?
Yeah, so certainly, you know, we try to make these plans accessible for residents as well as, you know, our city leadership, and it's for city staff to use as well. But, you know, for residents, we really, we make sure to include things like introduction. From there, you know, there's typically a summary of what you can find in the plan at the beginning of the document, typically in an executive summary type thing. But, you know, from there, we really go into existing conditions, which lay out things like demographic trends we're seeing, again, with a lot of graphics and a lot of, you know, easy to read features and call outs and things like that. So looking at demographics, existing land use patterns you'll see, it calls out things like historic assets, environmental conditions, existing parks and open space, things like that. And from there, we really get into the meat and the framework of the plan, which, you know, really digs into the study area as a whole, the policies and projects for the study area, as well as what we've identified as 4 opportunity areas. That are a more in-depth look, and I can talk about those, you know, in more detail.
Yeah, help us understand a little bit about, just in general, the 4 areas that you chose to focus on. And are those, I mean, you have some amazing renderings in here, which are really fun to look at because that kind of gives you something to imagine in these locations. So talk to me about those areas.
Yeah, definitely. So the 4 opportunity areas, as we're calling them, there's specific sub-areas within the general study area that's included, you know, in the plan. And really these areas are ones that are poised for, I would say, a greater degree of transformation or enhancement in a way. It's areas where there's a lot of things happening, there's a lot of opportunities, you know, whether it's underutilized land that could really become, you know, a improved asset for the community, things like that. So the 4 areas we really chose to focus on are North George Washington Highway Corridor, a portion of it, kind of where the Camelot neighborhood is, and between Canal there. The second being South Military Highway Corridor, again, between George Washington and Canal Drive, kind of that intersection. there. Our third opportunity area is the Deep Creek Village area, which is, as you mentioned, that's one that includes a more in detail rendering because really, as part of that opportunity area, we're looking more specifically at the old school site there in the Deep Creek Village area, not far from the bridge. And those include some of the renderings you mentioned. And then our final opportunity area is Culpeper Landing.
I love that you call it an opportunity area because it seems to me like all of these plans are exactly that. Where they're showcasing the opportunities in our community and really kind of where we can go from here. So talk a little bit about that implementation. You know, you mentioned city leadership, you mentioned elected officials. How are we going to take this plan that the community was involved with and that staff put together, assuming it eventually gets approved, how do they take that and run with it?
Yeah, so there's a couple avenues for implementation, I would say. You know, part of this is with this plan hopefully becoming an adopted component of the comprehensive plan, that allows us as staff, us as a city, it becomes an official policy document that we as staff, our leadership, it's used to make decisions on an everyday basis, whether that be setting priorities for projects, submitting things for, let's say, you know, funding through the capital improvement program. This plan really sets the groundwork for that. You know, and certainly in review of our development applications, which is a standard practice of the city. So that's really the overview, but you know, more specifically, we have those policies that are more tailored, I would say, to the Deep Creek and Camelot areas than our citywide policies that are laid out in the comprehensive plan. So that's part of it. It sets this additional layer of expectations, I would say. And then the other, I would say, more concrete part of this are the projects that we're recommending in the plan. So those look at more physical improvements, things like, you know, recommended park projects, road improvements, and other kind of more physical, tangible projects.
So those give a picture into future capital improvement projects? Is that how that?
That's the goal.
That's
yes.
the goal? Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and they are sorted by priority and feasibility and things like that. So we're certainly taking that into account as well.
There's a lot in here, and we are nearing the end, at least, of the creation process, right? Tell me a little bit about where we're at right now.
Yeah, so we've had the draft out for public input for some time, and we just held our last community meeting for folks to take a look at the draft and to present that information. It'll still be posted online, but you know, right now we'll probably be closing the public comment period for now, but we're preparing for the public hearing process. This plan, just like our other plans, adopted plans, will have to go through the public hearing process where it gets reviewed by Planning Commission and then City Council for final approval and adoption. So we're gearing up for that in the next few months here.
So still plenty of time to get involved, and then even once it's adopted, stay in the loop and then watch kind of how it blossoms and how it actually gets implemented, because there's still a lot of great work to come for the Deep Creek Area Plan. Did we forget about anything, Anna?
No, absolutely. Like you said, it's especially hopefully pending the adoption of this plan, that's when the really exciting work can start, and we can actually get the gears moving on getting these projects in the works, and yeah, it'll be great.
This is a very interesting tool for our city, and I'm so glad you're here to help us understand it a little bit more. Whether or not you live in the Deep Creek area, it's still an important part of the city of Chesapeake. So Anna Gorniak, thank you so much for being here and helping us learn more about that. We're going to send folks to cityofchesapeake.net/Deep Creek to learn more about this and to see the plan and follow the progress as it implements. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Peak Life. We'll see you next time.